Whoa, we got a full plate today. Woo, the table's full, Nicole Bernard.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, C. Marty Fit, and good morning, Thomas Woodhams, joining us all the way, C. Marty, Nicole, from across the pond. And I'm not talking about Lake. I'm not talking about Lake Winnipeg. I'm talking about that pond just over there off I think the coast of New York or something. The Atlantic, maybe.
Yeah, just London.
Yeah, I think I heard of it. Yeah.
Oh, you guys. So Thomas is joining us for the show this morning. I met Thomas through John Kraske, the Odie song, a bunch of crazy stuff. But I want to take a quick second. So this caught my attention first thing, guys. Nicole and Chris. So Thomas posted this 51 minutes ago, 54. Everyone has their own methods of getting through the day and their own levels of support needed at work. Just a neurodiversity. There you go, Thomas. Already wrecking the word, man. Just a neurodiversity friendly reminder. I think I see some of myself in these posts. Get this, Nicole. See, Marty. It's okay to listen to one track 600 times. Yeah, is it? I've done it maybe 800-900 times. Just kill the song. It's okay to ask the same question. Why I'm curious. It's okay if you don't understand the first time. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you enjoy things that others don't. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to have a cry. It's okay if people don't get you. It's okay if you have 10,000 screenshots on your phone that you'll never delete. People often worry they should be uniform at work, but it's okay to be different. We think differently, and that's perfectly okay. Raise your hand if you play your songs to the graveyard. And I wanted to share that because that struck me, Tom. When I read that, I was like, dude, this guy's just all out there. Good for you. Thanks for sharing that about yourself.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think like with ADHD, it's
there's a squirrel over here. Hey guys, there's a squirrel in the room here that I was wondering if we can talk about I was listening to a song this morning on the radio. Oh, sorry, Thomas. Sorry, back to you. Yeah, my ADHD kicked in there for a second. Sorry.
Yes, so it's exactly like that. It's pretty much, yeah, obviously wandering brains and stuff like that. But I think within a workplace, it's not really talked about as much as it is before. I think previously people thought like ADHD or being neurodivergent is like giving your kids blue Smarties and they're like buzzing around the room and stuff like that. But as an adult neurodivergent, being neurodiverse, it's the challenges at work that you have, and obviously people not really understanding to try and get that level of support. And I think that's why I talk about it so much, is because obviously it's safeguard, should we say future proof, for maybe my kids or whoever's kids, that people can go into an environment and feel supported. And some of the sort of stuff that I say is probably actually quite applicable to neurotypical people as well, and probably would benefit from that kind of advice in a workplace anyway.
I don't make light of it. See, Marty, I saw you laughing there when I was joking around the squirrel. I was telling Nicole yesterday, I was fortunate to spend an hour with John Brink. John Brink came over from after World War II, came over to Canada with $23.47 in his hands and built a spectacular life for himself. He's 83, but he is an ADHD. He talks about ADHD, talks about his neurodiversity, talks about his, there's that squirrel over here. So we were laughing on his, during our two conversations about how he has struggled his whole life about ADHD and how he's used it as his superpower, Thomas. And we're talking about an 83-year-old man who I think, so I'm 143. We didn't talk about neurodiversity, Nicole, 40 years ago, did we, growing up? Because I know you and I are ancient, so we didn't talk about these kinds of things years ago, did we, Nicole?
No, not at all.
So the fact that you're talking about it, Thomas, in a really open, vulnerable, relatable way, I love it, man. I love it, because you're taking a label, you're taking a stigma, you're just shoving it aside and saying, yeah, I listened to a song 600 times and this is what I am, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's how our brains are wired, and obviously I'm medicated. I was diagnosed 5 years ago, and I think a lot of people feel like it's like people that say, oh, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. But if you think about that as in for people growing up, let's say, I don't know, young kids, and they're hearing, oh, it's a curse. The kind of mindset for that is for people, oh, that's it, I've got no life now because I'm cursed for the rest of my life. So it is trying to put in a positive mindset. Yes, there is an element of amazing things that come with it, the creativity, the entrepreneurial flares, being able to get out of situations. Do you know what I mean? But obviously it does come with the challenges. But I think, yeah, once you manage yourself and understand yourself and how to manage it better, it comes as a plus because I've been able to create content, not just around ADHD, but around recruitment as well for neurodivergent job seekers as well as neurotypical. It's helped me leverage my creativity, and obviously addicted to LinkedIn. So that's probably why I only have LinkedIn, because otherwise, as I just mentioned you backstage, my fiance would. It's hard enough doing the amount of level of content that I do online, as well as try and manage a healthy life balance, being employed full time, as well as managing a relationship. It does take over, and sometimes you just don't see it until someone says, just to let you're spending however times in the evening on your phone or creating content, and getting my missus to hold the phone while I'm doing loads of crazy shit. And it's like my evening to relax and spend time with you, and you're just using me to create content. So it is understanding the right balance, because that is sometimes quite hard, especially when you got your blinkers on and you're not realizing the detriment that you're having with people around you, just because you're so hyper focused on creating content.
Yeah. See, Marty Fit, I see you leaning in there, intently listening. You got a question for Thomas? I know you guys just met this morning, and I know you're a big creator, Instagram guy. We're working together here in the lab on a number of things. You got some thoughts or questions for Thomas?
Not necessarily a question, but definitely a thought, because I can relate. So I know even when I'm not married or engaged or anything, but I find myself when I am dating, I have to be like, yo, you got to tell me if I'm doing too much, because I could sit here all day and come up with ideas and record. So I can definitely relate to you. And it's refreshing to hear someone say that. So I know I'm not crazy. So maybe I need to get diagnosed.
Not only you. Yeah.
Thomas, so Thomas Woodhams joins us from Warrington, England. He's a senior talent acquisition partner at Hawkeye. He's a tech recruiter that codes. I like that. I'm a tech recruiter that codes, because I'm suspecting, Thomas, there's a lot of tech recruiters that don't code.
Exactly that. Yeah. I think it's the nerd in me. I think like growing up, I've always been like dabbling with like computers, as you can see in my background. Like that's my missus's picture of Disney, but I've got loads of like Funko Pops and stuff like that. And I think I've always had a passion. I think being, as I said, neurodivergent, like with ADHD, it's that kind of escapism to be able to go into computers. A lot of neurodivergent people are in tech because it takes them away from everything and they can solely focus on creating problems. So yeah, I think learning when I learned data, I learned Python, I looked at data. Yeah, it's good to have obviously more constructive conversations with techies that are not just recruitment going, oh yeah, it's this. I can actually have constructive conversations about it and obviously talk about it in a bit more light, which makes me then not just a person that knows the buzzwords. I can have better conversations with people and people that see that.
Of course.
And it's a passion of mine. So it's a genuine passion. I think if any industry that you work in, if you have genuinely like a genuine passion or care for that industry that you work in, that does come through, especially when you're speaking to people around jobs, vacancies, however that looks like. That really does go a long way when you actually care about the place the sector that you're working in as well.
Because you're speaking their language, right? Yeah. I've been having some jokes lately, Nicole Bernard, about Harvard professors that teach business classes that have never run a business before. You're like, how does that work again? So when I hear Thomas recruiting people that are him, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes total sense. So, see, Marty.
Yeah, I was going to say that's similar to like I played basketball coming up. So in my opinion, the best coaches were the ones that played and the ones I can relate to the most. So that definitely makes sense. I agree with that, Keith.
Yeah. And see, Marty, you even said a couple of days ago that so you're a pro fitness trainer. You make humans create better versions of themselves. So imagine if you were not drinking the same Kool-Aid you were trying to serve up to your audience. That's like Thomas Woodhams saying, hey, man, I want you to hire you a coder, but I don't know nothing about the thing. Like, what?
It happens in my industry, believe it or not. So
yes.
See it a lot.
Yeah. I want to pivot back to ADHD and neurodiversity for a few moments, because I got to be honest with everybody on the line here. And I maybe being a little vulnerable here. Nicole, so since you and I met on the show a number of months ago, and since I've been meeting all these guests and see Marty, since I've met you and I've been talking with folks and I've becoming more educated on neurodiversity, Tom, I begin to wonder if I missed the last bit because Since I've done this show and I've been meeting with a lot of humans, and I have been fortunate to meet with a number of different neurodiverse or neurotypical people, I have found myself relating to many of the things that are being discussed. Nicole, I see you nodding. And I got to be honest, I wonder. So I grew up in an era where, you didn't, again, I'm 85. You either had ADD or ADHD, but nobody really did anything about it. They gave you pills or medicine and just treated you differently, right? I wonder sometimes if I have some of those same traits, that maybe I do have some neurodiversity into me. I guess the question I'm asking, Thomas, is do we all, as humans, have pieces of that? Nicole, I see you nodding. Do you relate to some of this too, that is being discussed?
Yeah, I listened to Luke Combs' Fast Car like a million times. Like, why can't I stop listening to this song on repeat? Yeah, no, so a few things, yes, for sure. But you're right. Like, even me growing up, I didn't have any friends. Like, ADD and ADHD wasn't a thing until I got to college. It was never discussed. Yeah.
It was because, so Thomas, it's for the longest time, we always just we painted the brush of neurodiversity on the far end of the spectrum, which is, okay, that person has autism or that person has this, where we never really have spoken about it in a sense of, no, there's functioning human beings that just like to listen to songs 1,000 songs at a time, and don't judge them. Just let them listen to the song 1,000 times and accept it. See Marty, him recognizing that, hey, I want to be on my phone, I want to create. Maybe that's okay. Because I know we're so quick to saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this. Says who? Thomas?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, like, we're all, if like we've obviously, we're going back to the question you're saying, has everyone got the similar traits? You've got it or you haven't. That, trust me, there's no like in between. There's the way that ADHD presents itself in females and men. There's different ways that it can come. So you can have the hyperactive side, which would be myself. So like, I have balls of energy, thinking 100-mile time an hour, like
me.
Cutting over people, especially when you talk about something that you're really passionate about. I can't wait for me to jump in on that conversation because I'm so excited about something I already know that I'm passionate about. With women in general with ADHDs, that these present as more of, if I'm at college or university and you're like staring out the window and you're like daydreaming, but it's more of an internal possession instead of being like they're just quiet and just daydreaming all the time, thinking about different thoughts, different things, and how that works. Obviously, you got the hyperactive side. There's the introverted and extroverted side of it. It sounds like there's loads of different versions of it, but they've now, obviously, with ADD and obviously AUAD and ADHD, it's all now put into one pot to make it easier and treatable. And as I said, if I didn't have the medication, and also see Marty's obviously, but with that exercise, that's the most important thing to me. Is if I don't exercise or don't play the sports that I do, I end up being really temperamental, like fast. And it's like having, if you think about the rainbow and everyone throwing paint at all the different colors at your brain at the same time, once I exercise, that rainbow then becomes more clearer. So like clouded judgment, I can't really think straight, but it's so important. That's one of the biggest medicines, is exercise for anyone, and being in the country. So like green, nice country walks, it eases the mind, being in that environment where you actually be able to think constructively of what you're doing. But yeah, that's the kind of how it presents. It presents different in women to it does to men.
Interesting. I did not know that. I again, as you're speaking, I can relate to some of the things you're speaking with. My brain going 1,000,000 miles an hour, et cetera, et cetera. It's no secret that cannabis has played a role in my life. And I will tell you guys that it's probably played a role in my life when it comes to how I manage my brain.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, because my brain goes nuts. I either smoke a blunt or pop an edible and it slows me down. It helps me focus. I've created some of my greatest work, frankly. Some of the greatest work I've produced is when my brain slowed down, and you can interpret that how you want. It's not high and stoned and not like living in a fog. No, it's just I'm focused. I'm really focused. So those that aren't familiar with that, I'm not trying to push or suggest anything, but I can tell you from my own experience, that's what's helped me stay focused, Thomas Woodhams.
Yeah, and a lot of people do say that. Like there's the people say, because some people don't want to be taken down the medicated route.
Yes,
which I'm on stimulants. So the medication I take is Concerta, and that's actually speed that I take. So what happens is that the speed that I take, which is a fast acting, so if I take it within 15 minutes, I know I've taken it. And I'm like, everyone would think, oh, speed, bloody hell, that means you're going to be running around like a headless chicken. But suddenly it's like I'm plugged into the Matrix. I don't know if you've ever seen that film Limitless with Bradley Cooper, where he takes the ET1, I think it's a tablet, when he speaks all these different languages and becomes like the highest broker it's a medication he takes. He was a bum, he was homeless, suddenly starts taking his medication. He becomes like a top broker in the firm, becomes a multimillionaire, speaks with his languages, and then obviously the medication dies him down. Yeah. But me going off a tangent there, but the medication is to help with the chemical imbalance in my brain. So I basically class that as my reading glasses, means I can be productive throughout the day. I'm not like constantly looking for an excuse to get off my seat, looking at the screen for 15 minutes and then going, I need to get off. My leg bouncing around. It allows me to have a consistent, clear, constructive conversations. I'm able to articulate myself. I'm allowed to slow myself down and have good conversations without acting. I need to get up. I need to do this. I'm going to go to the fridge now. But on the way to the fridge, I'm going to pick up this jumper. Then I'm going to, this jumper, I've always looked for this jumper. That process of going from here to over to the sink, in that way, I could then pick up that, I need to clean this. I need to grab this. And you're not even going to do it. So the tablets help me be able to focus on just one thing instead of having like 100 tabs open at once and the sort of mental challenges it takes.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing actually with Nicole. She doesn't know it yet. So Nicole, I'm listening to Thomas speak and I'm thinking about my wife. She's over there right now. But when she walks from one end of the room to the other, she's somebody that I swear can squeeze out 30 ounces out of a 26-ounce bottle. So she can take 30 minutes and squeeze 48 minutes of it. I'm like, how did you get those 38 tasks done in 20 minutes? Oh my God. So Thomas, to your point about walking from point A to point B, not a straight line from my baby over there. She's like, oh no. But we don't talk about ADHD or neurodiversity. I'm saying it all in love and jest with Lauren over here, but it is, I see it happening. And Nicole, I want to ask you this. You're a mother of 2 young children, 13 and 11, I believe it is, right? Is this a conversation that you and your husband talk about? Is this talked about with your peers? Is this talked about in school? Do you guys have these conversations, Nicole?
We haven't really, because our kids were homeschooled for so long, and we didn't. There haven't been any signals, I guess the word would be, for my kids particularly. Now they've been in school for the last 2 years, and same thing, having their conferences, and we see how they study and they're able to. I'm not saying that they don't necessarily, but we just haven't had to have that conversation because that they've just been excelling, and they also haven't had any concerns of their from themselves. But there are a few kids in my son's class that I do know that have ADD, and just based on the stories that I've been told. And it's interesting. It seems like his teacher is still trying to figure out how to navigate through that, because it doesn't seem like it ends well sometimes, being sent out to the hall, things like that. But it's definitely, I've heard it's being talked about. It's definitely, again, like I said, more so than when we were kids growing up.
Yes. I'm glad it's being spoken about more. See, Marty, in your world, in your environment, do you guys talk about this, or is it joke? I don't want to be is it joked about? Do you guys make humor with it? Is it like, see, Marty's got my crazy brain on? Do you guys talk about this, Chris, in your world?
Honestly, not really. They're starting to tap more into the mental health but not really ADD or ADHD. I'm sure it's coming at some point, because like I said, they're tapping more into the mental side and seeing why people do things, why people can't focus on a meal plan, or why people have trouble doing the same workouts every week. So I'm sure it's coming soon, but it's not a big deal at the moment.
I can see you leaning into it with curiosity. As I've gotten to know you over the last few weeks, I can see the steam coming out of your ears because you're paying attention intently. I can see Thomas. I can see Marty going, okay, the show's over. I'm going to learn.
Tom's speaking my language. I mean, he's literally speaking my language. So it's like I said, it's refreshing to hear it.
Yeah. That's exceptional. Okay, so listen, we are at the 22-minute mark of the show. We're going to stay on the tune here with ADHD. Thomas is going to leave us in about 8 minutes or so. I think he's got to rock and roll. So before we do that, Today's accountability check-in. We do this every single day around the 7:16, today 7:20 mark, but it relates to this in a very, it's funny because when I wrote this yesterday, I didn't really, I knew we were going to be talking about this, but maybe not to this extent, but let's get into the accountability check-in. And it is this idea that every word you speak can crush or empower another human being. And I think that's really relatable to this. See, Marty, in the work that you do, Nicole, and you know, everything that you do, Thomas, in your world, like words can be interpreted either to crush somebody or empower somebody. So every meal you choose can destroy or enhance your health. The reality is both are in your control. So food and words are both the things in your control. Both can make or break your success. So here's why. Speaking and eating are all about forming good habits. True story. Good or bad. Accountability and intention. If you're reckless with both of those, they're going to ruin your relationships. And Thomas, that's how we started our conversation today, man. You were talking about just your habits and you're like, okay, I got to stay focused on my habits or my relationships are going to be ruined. If you're reckless with making choices around words or food, you're going to ruin relationships. You're going to ruin your health. I know myself, team, because I have been there. As I've aged through life, I know I've said things that I'm like, oh, did I really need to say that? Or I've eaten food that doesn't make me feel very good. And then when it doesn't make me feel very good, maybe it puts me in a different mood, bad mood, and maybe it makes me act a little differently. So I have a recommendation for everybody today. Think before you speak. I know it's simple, but often we all don't just do it. We just speak. So let's think before we speak. And then maybe nation today, I think C. Marty will relate to this one. Just give it an extra bit of thought before you put that food in your mouth.
Yeah, a lot of people don't plan. So I always tell my clients to plan the day before or on Sunday, plan your next 3 days or plan your week. A lot of times when you just eat off of impulse and, oh, I'm hungry right now, let me go to the nearest fast food restaurant. You end up making a bad decision, falling off of your plan, or you'll just regret it later. Maybe you end up crashing. You're not as effective at work. Maybe you end up skipping a workout. So it usually tends to bite people in the butt later on.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So our accountability check-in today, obviously plan. If you plan, you're going to plan for success. Simple choices can change everything. I think to me, the key message here is be intentional. When you're intentional, magic happens. Thomas Woodhams, don't you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's obviously what Simon is saying. Like, if you get a thought in your head, like obviously, oh, I can't bother to do this, I can't bother to do that, and the quickest route to getting like food is the takeaway. Like that's been one of my sort of challenges. Is it's like when you get in a relationship, like it's all romantic dates, meals, you're going out, and then suddenly, fucking 2 years down the line, you're like, shit, I put on 3 stone just because I'm going out enjoying my time with my fiance and like taking out for meals, and it's winter and you want to have cozy nights in and all that sort of stuff. But it does affect you because my fiance is like sorry, I hate using struggling. I always like to say challenged at the moment with her weight, and she's got like body confidence issues. Even though she's stunning, she finds that it then affects like relationship with me because she doesn't want to get it changed in front of me, like that kind of like element. When we've been together 2 years, where that would have been fine before. It's like compromise, and obviously, like I'm going to the gym with her. I play badminton at a high level, so like national badminton. I play for men's singles, so that's like one of my actual sport that keeps me. So obviously, like Marty said about basketball, then Hawkeye are actually massively in with the NBA because we chip all the balls, we do all the skeletal tracking for the NBA, and obviously NBA is one of our clients. So for example, like with data with the NBA, that's all the stuff that we do at Hawkeye. So badminton's my spot. I think I'm going on for tangent here, but like planning ahead is so important. But it's hard on the harder days where you do feel challenged and you go for the easier route than just going, I need to do some meal prep or I need to do this, because obviously once you've had a day of work or however it looks, you just feel mentally exhausted.
So true. See, Marty, you were going to say something there?
Yeah, I will be backtracking, but I was just going to say, think about anybody who has results or has some sort of success. They don't wake up in the morning, I don't feel like doing this, or just talking negatively on their way to doing the tasks that need to be done. It was going back to the language we were talking about earlier. So that's true. Definitely a factor. Mm-hmm.
So true. Thomas Woodhams, we're almost coming up to the bottom of the hour here. Nicole, did you know Thomas Woodhams is a badminton, like he's the man? Like he's a champion. He's ranked in the world playing badminton.
That's amazing.
In the UK.
That's impressive. Very impressive.
In the UK, yeah.
I was, because listen, Thomas, I've made it very clear to both Nicole and C. Marty that I show love through jesting. That's just how I show love. When I first saw that you were a badminton champion, all I wanted to think about was talking with Nicole about shuttlecocks. Because a few shows ago, we were talking badminton champions and two 12-year-old children. We just laughed for a half an hour about shuttlecock.
Love it. Yeah, all different kinds of shuttlecocks. Right, guys. That's
all different kinds of shuttlecocks in Thomas Woodham's world, playing badminton, the badminton champion. Thomas, I know you have to rock and roll. Will you come back and join us again to talk about Hawkeye, statistics, basketball, and what you do on that side of things? That's fascinating to me, and I can see.
Yeah, I want to hear about that too.
I know. I saw his ears perk up, and I know Nicole's an athlete too. So I'd love to have you come back, actually, and I'd love to dig into that Hawkeye, basketball, data, how you use badminton, and those. I think it'd be a fascinating conversation. We come back and join us again.
Yeah, definitely. I'll happily talk about the stuff that we do, but obviously just to give you a bit of a heads up, stuff we do is like skeletal tracking. So for example, if C. Marty was playing a game, if you think about the stadium, in the stadium, there'd be obviously like normal cameras, and then obviously you got the 8 other cameras, skeletal tracking. So what happened, the data points on C. Marty, there'd be 25 data points. That'd be his head, shoulders, like elbows, his hands, fingers, where he touches the ball. And then what we do is obviously look at the skeletal tracking. So we're able to obviously give to coaches and performance and saying, look, C. Marty's played the last 50 games. This is where he's good at. This is his performance. Like, why has it changed? And then they're able to then look at like injury prevention for stuff, not just obviously for NBA, obviously NFL.
Yeah.
And also in the UK, obviously with all the stuff that we do with the football. But yeah, it's different because obviously different clients have different needs. Like you might be more common with like tennis when there's a challenge, and obviously with the ball tracking comes down and it says, is it in it or out? That's obviously the platform that's us, what we do. But obviously we're pretty working with 25 of the 28 major sports.
That's really cool.
That's
it's interesting, and especially with like it goes on with like technology and stuff like that, you'll end up having more fan engagement with maybe the basketball players, like the metaverse, where you can come in and go into the stadium and then start seeing what's around, go and meet the other players, go and meet the fans. There's some amazing stuff that we've done with the NFL. We did a Sunday Fun Day in Wembley, and then what we did is work with Disney Plus, and then we had the game live, but we was then streaming that in Disney, and then what was over that was the Buzz and Woody playing in Andy's bedroom. So they were doing the NFL, so it was trying to more of encouragement for kids to get in, and you saw Buzz and Woody there, and obviously this is live, so there's about 3 or 4 second delay for the feed on Disney, but that game was streamed from Wembley into Disney Plus for that game.
I remember that game.
Yeah, Sunday Fun Day. That was part of us.
Pretty cool.
You're doing some cool stuff, Thomas Woodhams. So I know what I'd like to work with you on, Thomas, before we say goodbye. Is I'd love for us to get Nicole Bernard all strapped up in a motion capture suit and like to see her run around the soccer pitch running backwards and then capture that whole experience.
You can actually there's an app on your phone called iHawk. You can have that with, so basically, obviously, if you see Marty, if you can download iHawk, which is attaches to you. So if you're doing ball throws and stuff like that, that's our app. It's called iHawks, and you can actually track the ball motion at home.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
All right. Okay. So I'm a big fan of next steps, Thomas. You have left our audience with some next steps. You are awesome. So see Marty Fit, he's on it. Nicole is on. I can see them both downloading the app. So by next week's shows, we're going to have motion capture stuff from the Mornings in the Lab team here. But Thomas Woodhams, thanks for joining us today. How can Business Athlete and LinkedIn Nation find you before we say goodbye?
Just literally connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the only platform I have social media wise. I think I told you before about all the other different platforms. LinkedIn, that's my holy grail, all the chickens in basket. That's where I am.
Awesome. Thomas Woodhams, you have been an exceptional guest. I loved hearing your story. I have loved getting to know you on LinkedIn. I know we met there through your Odie song, and you quickly became to me the fun, loving, headphone wearing, awesome dude from London. I labeled you in my head because I loved your energy, and I love how authentic you are as a human, and
Appreciate
I love
that.
how you are not afraid to share that. And I
Appreciate
cannot
that.
encourage you enough to keep doing that with all of us, because you're teaching all of us things that I don't even think some of us even are aware of, because you're teaching me. I'll tell you that right now. And I can see Marty nodding his head, and Nicole is. So please keep being you, because I can tell you, we all love who you are. I know I do, man. And I love your content, dude. Please keep it up.
you.
Odie, right, Thomas?
Yeah, can we just clarify that basically what that was? John having a latte, and then I said it's an OT, and then it's now started with people going bonkers about it and then want to make songs about it. It was just a kind of like ingest LinkedIn to make it keeps flashing this drink. And I said, look, it's an OT. Because I think it's like an OT latte or something. So yeah, John's of character. I think I love John. I think he's also on the spectrum, and I've told him a few times that I think the way he presents himself and how he is, and he goes, and I said to him, I think you might have ADHD or something along those lines. He goes, oh, really? Do you reckon? Well, okay, boom, boom, yeah, okay, that's great. I'm just gonna, and I'm like, yeah, I could just tell by that comment. Oh, not really. Or what do you think? He was just like, yeah, but it's not weird, is it? I said, no. Oh, that's brilliant then. And then off he goes. And I'm just thinking like, okay, fair enough, mate. Just do your thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Case in point, right? Like he just proved your point.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Hey, so this is a favorite part of the show. I've never done this before, Nicole Bernard, to see Marty, but we're going to do some ships in passing. So we've welcomed David Young into the lab here. He cruised into port as Thomas Woodhams cruises out of port. I don't think you guys have met each other. So Thomas, David, Thomas.
Nice. Thomas, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. So Thomas, so you can stick around if you like, but we're going to shift our conversation over to Mr. Young, who's joining us in this morning.
Thanks
Thomas,
for having me. Nice to meet you all. Nice to meet you, Seymour.
Nice meeting you, Thomas.
Yeah. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Oh, that was awesome. That was an exceptional conversation with Thomas Woodhams. This, to me, is the dream of how this show comes together, where we're just having incredible conversations to make us aware, be curious, and then just like ships through the night. One goes out the door, Nicole, and one comes in the door. And
I don't know if I can top motion sensor in Wembley Stadium Sunday fun days. I don't know where I can go from. I don't think I can go anywhere from there.
Yes, so everybody in the nation, like David's a pretty boring guy. I was doing some research on the dude, so I think if you all want to grab your violins and some coffee, we're gonna go to sleep with David Young now after Thomas Woodhams. Joke. See, Marty's like, what the hell are you doing, man? I met David through an online community on LinkedIn and through a brand built community. We've got to know each other, and I've enjoyed getting to know David through his content. And a couple weeks ago, David said, hey, why don't you come join us in the lab? And you said, yeah, let's do that. I think you had some kid commitments to take care of, but we found a date for you, and now you're here with us today. Where are you joining us from, David Young?
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, see, Marty, you been there before?
A while back.
Oh, I've been there. For basketball, probably, yeah?
Basketball, yeah. Most of my travel has been for basketball.
Yeah, of course. David, you are a coach.
Yeah, it's weird to think of myself as a coach, although I've been coaching a lot of my kids' sports teams, so maybe it's more apropos than it was, say, like a year ago. So coaching youth sports teams is fun. They don't listen to anything. But yeah, so I'm doing content creation, coaching, trying to help people create, storytell, and format the most engaging content that they can. That's a new endeavor for me. Yeah.
So talk about that new endeavor, because I know you are I know this has been new for you. I can see you, not that I'm stalking, just paying attention. I've been noticing your LinkedIn profile getting tweaked. You've been working on it. You have been actively DMing folks and just being engaged in the community. As you've launched your new venture, improve your content through storytelling and formatting, content creation coach, the Real You podcast host. How has it all come together for you, David?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I started on LinkedIn last July, so about 10 months ago. I had very little social media presence, but I never felt a connection to any of my quote unquote 9-to-5 corporate jobs. And I bounced around different ones over a 20 to 25 year period and just never found it. Started creating content as probably a little bit of desperation and hey, I got to try something new because the other stuff's not working, and fell in love with it, made so many great connections, and decided to start doing it full time in mid-February. And it's changed my life, like with just all the great people and connections. And it's just been so much fun. My coach, Matthew Bigger, who I think was on your show recently and gave me a shout out. When I started working with him about 2 months ago, we had a very long intake call to start his process. And at the end of it, he was like, I think you should really, the way you think about content, the way you create content, like have the analytical kind of process driven brain. He was like, I just don't think a lot of people think about that the way that you do. And I think you could really help people tell stories, just write more engaging content on the platform. And I hadn't really thought of it, but that's what we've done. And so far it's gone really well.
See, Marty, Nicole, questions for David?
I'm still learning some more about David to develop a question. Still learning some more.
Yeah. So David, you said a year ago you stepped into this world and you're like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to go and build a business on LinkedIn. I'm going to go and build a community. I'm leaving my corporate world aside. Talk about that moment of transition, sitting down with your family and saying, okay, dad's putting that aside. I'm going over here to start my own thing. Did you talk about how scared you were with your wife and your kids, or did you keep that inside? And I'm being serious because I know in your head, I've been there, Nicole's been there, and Marty's been there. There's those nerves to take that first step from Friday till Monday. How did you manage that, David?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first started, it really was just a side project. It was a creative outlet. I just needed to do something that was not focusing on my work, which at that time I was not very good at it and I didn't like it. It was a bad combination. So it took about 4 months to gain some traction, and then another 4 months for me to really get to the point where I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, I had a lot of conversations with my wife, and obviously it's scary when you're leaving guaranteed money, the every other week paycheck, which you get used to. It almost becomes like a drug, right? And so you got to wean off of that. It took me probably at least a month, 6 weeks to emotionally stabilize and understand that this is a new reality. But on the flip side, I'm now doing what I want to do. I have complete control over my time. I'm spending time with people that I want. No one forces me to sit in a company meeting that's an hour. It's a complete waste of my time. And there's a lot of positives too.
Yeah. I'm sitting on your About page here because I love it. I was reading through it yesterday as I was prepping for the show here. And man, over the last 8.5 months, check this out, see, Marty, 126% increase in impressions, 300% increase in reactions. Nicole, 776% increase in comments. And David Young, you've added 156 increase in engagement, but you've added 1,080 followers, 620 connections, a 2,400% increase in search appearances, a 4,600% increase in profile views. There are many people right now listening to this conversation going, how did you do it? What's the magic sauce to get these numbers on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I've narrowed it down to 5 major steps. The first one is consistency. So I post at the same time, 3 days a week. I've played around with 3 to 5 times a week, 3 days a week works the best for me. So I post at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and I actually put that at the bottom of most of my posts, when to see my post. The second step is storytelling. I think it's a lost art in terms of when people create posts and they're just not telling enough stories to make the content more engaging. It's more factual, comes across maybe a little dry. It's not that it's bad, but if someone's reading it for the first time, it doesn't draw them in. There's not enough emotion stirred. Number 3 is formatting, very specifically formatting for mobile devices. I just started using Authored Up about 2 months ago, and it shows you what your post looks like, preview for mobile devices, because about 3/4 of all people are consuming your content on their phones. And so you really need to pay attention to what your post looks like on the phones, because that's how people are seeing it. That's critical. 4 is really engaging. So I spend a lot of time commenting, trying to support as many other creators as I can. And that's what I did at the beginning, and I still do it today. You have to be known. People have to know that you're creating. And the way to do that is commenting, and not just commenting great post or nice insight, like a true something you got out of it, or it means something to you, or a book recommendation, something more insightful. That's how you build awareness. And then step 5 is the data analytics part, which I'm a geek, an Excel and data nerd, but you have to know what's working. You have to understand the trajectory of your content. So are your impressions going up? Is engagement going up? If so, can you try to figure out why? Try to do more of what's working, less of what's not. So really those are the 5, major steps. And that's what I coach people on, is really trying to implement those and develop a process and a system that they can consistently commit to.
See, Marty is.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to throw it to you, C. Marty. He's aggressively getting himself. So since Nicole and I have been working in here and building this up, I said, hey, C. Marty, come join and build up your presence in the lab with us. And I know he's been aggressively stepping his feet back into LinkedIn. He's an Instagram dude, but he sees the value in LinkedIn. And give C. Marty some tips. Or C. Marty, you have some questions for David that I saw you nodding as he was talking there. Do you got questions for David regarding his business?
Yeah, I was going to ask if, so you say you schedule at the same time every day. You post at the same time every day. Do you schedule that post, or are you like just up early, maybe an hour or 30 minutes earlier before 8:30, making and writing your post? How do you go about that?
Good question. So I don't schedule any posts. I do them all live. I've figured out and learned that when you schedule posts, you get less impressions. LinkedIn likes to have you on the platform live before you post. So now I used to write in Word and then I would copy it live into LinkedIn. But with Authored Up, you can write the whole post, format it with bold emojis, however you want, and then it's ready to go. So typically I just get into, I'm on live engaging. I'll go into create posts, which it's like an Authored Up is built in. And then I get it ready. I attach a picture, whatever I'm doing with that particular post, and then post it live. But then as soon as I do that, I go back and engage more. And then once my post has maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and starts to get some comments and some traction, then I go in and reply to those comments as soon as they come in. Then I bounce back and forth between other content and commenting, and then back to mine for probably another, let's say 45 minutes or an hour once it's live.
That's helpful. Nicole had to squeak away for a second because her dog is in the office barking at runners.
That's why I muted myself. I was yelling at her, but she wouldn't stop. Sorry.
Yeah. You have gone all in on LinkedIn. Am I correct? Is that the platform you're building in? Would that be the advice you'd give somebody, is don't try to do 10 things, 8 things, just focus on one to start with?
Yeah, for sure. I think you can get spread too thin, and all the platforms, I haven't spent a lot of time on the other ones, but I've read enough people that they all have their differences and their nuances. I think it's too hard to learn all of those if you're trying to do it all at once. Pick one. LinkedIn works for me. And once you get that down, you want to branch off to Instagram or YouTube or wherever else you want to go next to spread the message. I think that's good. But it's like anything else, right? If you're like, I've done a lot of race training, you wouldn't try to swim, bike, and run like all at the same time. You got to get one and then move to another. So I think LinkedIn really, it's a great place to build. The community's been very supportive, just very uplifting, a lot of great energy, people wanting to see you do. And I think it's a great place to start.
I want to be respectful of your time. I know you booked in for 15. Can you stay for 10 more minutes, or do you got to rock and roll?
Oh, yeah. No, I got plenty of time. Appreciate it.
I want to lean into 2 things. I want to lean into your race training. I saw Nicole's ears perk up because I know she's got an ultramarathon coming up on June 22nd. And then I want to lean into our creator spotlight this morning before Jimmy, who's listening, is going to give me heck. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But before we get there, talk about the race training. What do you do from a business athlete perspective, David? Are you an ultramarathoner? Are you an Ironman person? What do you do?
So I played sports all my life, baseball, basketball, soccer, golf, like growing up. And then as I got older, looking for that kind of competitive outlet, I started running. So I did half marathons, 3, I did 1 full marathon, got bored of running, switched to triathlon. I did 11 sprint triathlons, 1 Olympic distance, and then 2 half Ironman triathlons in a 5-year stretch. Then I got really burnt out because I was training around the clock, which was good timing because that led me into COVID. So it was like 6 months before COVID, I shut down all my training. And so I ended up working out. A couple of years went by. I was just doing kind of cycling and running on my own. I was looking for another outlet, and my therapist was a big obstacle course racer. So she was like, hey, why don't you try a Spartan race? And I was like, I don't know. Look at these arms, right? I can bench press like 80 pounds. I was like, I don't think strength races are my thing. So she was like, you can get stronger. It's not set in stone. You can train. I was like, all right. So she talked me into it. So I did a sprint version of a Spartan race back in October, which is 5K and 20 obstacles. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And so I'm doing the next step up, which is called a sprint in July. So that is a 10K with 25 obstacles. And it's interesting, like putting together the training plan is not that different than putting together a business plan, right? Like I have a 12-week plan. I'm running certain days, I'm strength training certain days, I'm resting certain days, right? Again, with your business, right? You're selling certain days, you're creating content certain days, you're doing outreach, right? It's not that different because you need a plan. You're not just showing up and just hoping and winging it. You're being specific about what you need to do to accomplish the goal. So I think there's a huge overlap in how you prep for a race.
Yeah. Nicole, Marty?
I totally agree with everything David just said.
No, I like how the therapist said, well, you can get stronger. I like that. I use that philosophy in anywhere in my life. You can do that better. You can figure out a way to get better. Definitely like that. Yeah. I did a couple Spartan races myself, and I did some High Rocks events too. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but
I haven't heard of the High Rocks, but yeah, it's cool. No, it's fun. I don't like strength training. So the nice thing about the Spartan races, I have to do it. So it forces me to strength train. Yeah, I do the hill runs. I carry 50-pound salt bags and then carry a kettlebell up the hill. People at the place where I do it look at me like I'm completely nuts, but it's fun.
It's good stuff.
Me and David are soul mates because I hate strength training too. Like, hate it.
Yeah. So Keith said you're doing an ultra marathon coming up. Is that right?
Yeah, in June. Yeah, I'd rather run than lift the weights.
Yeah, I'd rather lift weights. I don't like running.
That's why we all compliment each other so well on the show here. Because Nicole,
Definitely.
she's like, I don't want to go to the gym. David, on Tuesday, we get a note from Nicole in the gym. But David, we got Marty and Keith got no evidence of Nicole working out in the gym, just of her being in the gym. And exactly, Marty.
Just
right?
a text message. Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, with a picture of her.
I'm done.
Yeah,
we need more than that.
See, she can take Thomas's the iPhone, the app, and then she can work out with the data points, and then you guys can actually see, and then she can figure out better ways to do it, so that can all come full circle.
I like
that. I don't know if I want to see my data points.
All right, David Young, C. Marty Fit, Nicole Bernard. I want to pivot our conversation. We're in the last 4 minutes of the show here. I want to check into our creator spotlight. This one came quickly yesterday. It happened on David, I'll tell you right now, I appreciate what you said. So I don't schedule my content either. Sometimes I do, but my morning posts, like my accountability posts, I schedule them on LinkedIn, but my posts throughout the day, for the most part, I don't, because I don't know, I have a mood, or I have something going on in my head. It happened yesterday. I had something going on in my head. I had to post about it. So maybe my ADHD Woodhams came out, but I all of a sudden just like, boom. And within seconds I had this post. And it was out, and I posted it up. And the post was this, which led me to today's creator spotlight. It was, I'm looking for a worst selling author to join me live in the lab. Because I'm like, everybody's a best-selling author, right? Well, of course you're a best-selling author. Everybody's a best-selling author. So I'm like, no, I want to see the worst selling author. So I made this post. And what came of it, though, was funny. I met a fellow here, and his name was... Where'd it go? Where's my comments? There we go. So he says, Ty Hogson, today's creator spotlight, says, it would get attention. It depends on the type of attention you want to get. You could say, I sold my bootstrap business for $10 because it was dog in your headline, and a lot of people would notice. The question is, does it help you with what you're trying to achieve? Personally, best-selling author has added credibility and helps me get clients and opportunities. It helps me with my goal. As long as you're not lying, it all depends on preference and what you're trying to accomplish. Thanks, Keith. I enjoyed thinking and writing about this. So then I took Ty to heart. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're right. If I'm calling you out or being an author, why don't I change my profile? So I did. My profile now says, I sold my business for $10 because it was dog shit. Oops, sorry, Nicole. And then I also posted on the back that says, I am not an author. So I'm having some fun with this because I want to see how many people pay attention to our profile hooks. But today's creator spotlight is Ty Hoskin. I think I said your last name, Ty, because you and I engaged on some fun conversation yesterday about my profile pic. And it had to do with this whole idea of changing your profile and what's the hook and being about, and Tom, I'm sorry, C. Marty, Nicole, David, Ty Hoskin is a best-selling author.
Of course.
Ty is going to join us in the lab here in a couple weeks. I think he's going to join us here in the morning. We're going to dig into this conversation about this idea of best-selling author, the hook. But Ty helps you speak with such confidence and clarity that you land a promotion in half the time. He is a communication coach, David Young. I love this post. Go ahead.
He's actually a best-selling author twice.
He is a best-selling author. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, we don't want to dismiss how important that is. So, Ty Hoskin, you are our creator spotlight today here in the lab. I would invite everybody to go visit Ty on his LinkedIn page, Ty Hoskin. He's going to join us here in a number of days to come sit on the show, but he will help you speak with more confidence and clarity. And after listening to somebody like Thomas Woodhams this morning, after talking about our accountability pitch about choosing your words wisely, and you listen to David Young talk about creating LinkedIn content with intention and awareness, man, weaving Ty into this whole thing about speaking with confidence and clarity, it just fits in with today's show. Ty, Creator spotlight for you today. I do not have my laugh track. Marty or Nicole, I got to get you guys in that for me, I think. But Ty, congratulations, not laugh track, the thank you track, the clapping of the hand.
Applause is the word you're looking for.
That is the word I'm looking for. Thank you very much. All right, so Ty Hoskin, congratulations. You are a Creator Spotlight. We're going to throw you into the bucket for Kraski's Creators. We launched that yesterday, and I think that's going to become a thing. So stay tuned for that. Team, we are pretty much at the end of our show. David Young, throw it to you. What do you got going on for today, pal?
Yeah, I have a couple quick ones. One is not only is best-selling author, but isn't everybody a New York Times best-selling author? I've never seen. I think if you write a book, are you automatically an NYT bestseller?
I think
anyway,
and Amazon, I think, right? I think they go together.
Yes, it's just built in. The other thing that reminded me of is the worst-selling author. So it reminded me of the old George Carlin bit. He said, "There's a worst doctor in the world out there, and tomorrow people have appointments to see them." And I always think that's hilarious. So that worst author in the world, that reminded me of that old Carlin bit.
Oh, man. In less than a minute or so, David, what do you got going on for today, pal? Thank you for joining us. What do you got going on?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys having me. Spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, as I normally do. Connection call later with somebody I haven't met, which has been one of my favorite things about the platform, meeting people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to rain here, so my dog will be not very happy. He's not going to get to go chase his checkered balls all afternoon. So
awesome. Nicole Bernard, what do you got going on today?
A bit of work and soccer later. So.
Yes. How did the track meet go yesterday for the kids?
Oh, good. It was my daughter's last one. She didn't, she didn't hit her goal, so she was a little frustrated. But again, another good life lesson of,
this is true.
Well, now we train, and you can try again next year. So
that's all. Good message. Yes, that's the right kind of teaching instead of everybody getting gold. Right. Yeah. See, Marty, my friend, what do you got going on today, pal? Are you going to floss today? Live longer?
I floss every day. So
there you go. There you go.
That wasn't new information for me, but definitely going to work out. Got some more clients later. Try to get some new clients. Got a couple calls later, and that's about it.
Awesome.
Simple day.
Awesome. This is a good segue to me. Say, what's shaking? Shannon Houchin. We are connecting later today. She's going to be helping us out in the lab. We're going to be doing some cool stuff together with Shakin' Shannon. Walter Vian also joined us today. Ange joined us as well. So I'm going to do a better job of thanking those that are tuning in. David, was this as good as for you as it was for Keith, Nicole, and Marty?
Yeah, this was great. I super appreciate you guys having me on. So much fun, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Awesome.
We're going to get out of here, guys. We're going to go and have a wonderful day. I got an active one. We got Terry Tucker joining me here in the lab at noon. Terry is a coach as well. So we're going to talk a mindset coach. We're going to get into some mindset coaching and discuss what that's all about. So you'll find us here at noon. And tomorrow, of course, we're back in the lab mornings at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Guys, we're getting out of here. Have a good one.
Appreciate you.
Nice meeting you, David.
Happy Thursday.
Take care.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you later. Where is my pop-up video? Boom. All right. See you guys.